I wanted to put together a video on breaking down 1911, kind of the tips and tricks, stuff that I've learned over the course of me doing work on mine. And as you've seen in some of my other videos, I'm a little clumsy with it still, and I kind of want to make this. I want to make this video for reference too. So anyway, hopefully this will help someone out. It will definitely help me out if I forget something or miss a step or whatever in the future. So anyway, let's get to it. First things first, I want to clear the weapon. We've got, take the magazine out. It's clear. All right, this is going to be a breakdown, not just for field stripping. Although I guess here I'll do it. When you field strip, I'll start with that instead of taking the grips off first. So, all right, here's what you do. Push down the barrel, recoil spring lug, rotate the bushing. The recoil spring and the plug come out two pieces. All right. And then what you can do is you can rotate the barrel bushing, and so basically this way is to take this recoil spring out, cut it over this way, pop it out. Mine isn't super tight fitting. It fits tight enough, but I know there are some where you need a barrel wrench to get it off. So now you've got this whole front end is done. You turn it over and you line up there's a little half moon here. You line that up with the catch on the slide stop, and that should let you, if it's lined up right, you should be able to just push up on the other end. Do this part over here. Push up on that, pull the slide stop out, and then the upper comes off from the lower. This is your recoil spring guide. And then to pull the barrel out of the slide, you just tilt the lug forward and it comes out. So basically this is a field strip for cleaning and whatnot. I'm gonna go further. Just take this down. If you want to remove the bits and pieces inside of the lower, you don't actually have to take the grip panels off, but I'm going to just so it's easier for you to see. Okay, here's your grip panels. So now what you're left with is the frame, and obviously at this point the frame is still, all the functions are still operational, but all right, so to remove the mainspring housing, which is the next step, the first thing I do, and this is, once again, this is me, I actually release the hammer, and that relieves the tension on the mainspring housing, which makes it easier to take this punch out, or this pin out. Yeah. So the pin comes out, and so if you had the hammer cocked, the mainspring would be pressing down, and it would be a little bit more difficult to remove the punch out of here. So that's why I do that. The next thing is to actually pull this out. I've seen a couple 1911s where you can just pull this out. On mine, I cannot. It's too tight. So I actually cock the hammer and use that to push it out and start it, and then just pull it out in one piece like that. Okay, so the next step is to remove the safety lever, the thumb safety lever. And it only comes out in one position, so you can't pull it out when it's fully disengaged, and you can't pull it out when it's fully engaged. It's actually, the spot is somewhere in between. So what I do is I put my finger on one side, on this side of the pin. This is the rearmost one here. And I kind of just press up, and at the same time wiggle it up and down. And you'll notice that right at a certain point, it actually starts to move. And that is the point between being fully engaged and fully disengaged. I also hear some people who use a screwdriver and stuff to pry this out. I prefer not to use that type of tool. I don't want to scratch up the frame or anything. Of course, if you had plastic, there you go. So if you had, you know, a little plastic like car panel removal tool, you could use that in here. It probably wouldn't mar it up. Anyway, so as you can see, I finally got it out, and just wiggle it out. Here's your thumb safety. The thumb safety plunger and the slide stop lever plunger are come out too, connected in the same spot, or connected in the middle with that spring. Now that that's thumb safety's out, you can remove the grip safety, and then from here you can pull out the spring. As you can see, just these 3 fingers. And then from here, you've got just these 2 pins in here that hold the trigger, that hold the hammer and the sear and disconnector in. So they go from, you just push them out from the right side. So let me get the hammer. Your sear, and there's your disconnector. Now, if you want to remove the magazine catch from the right side of the gun, you'll see that screw. You basically depress the magazine release like this, and then turn it about 90 degrees counterclockwise, like you're loosening a screw, and then pull it out like that. And what this does is, if you can see it here, let's see if it'll work. A little too close for that. Clearly it's not happy, but what it does is, you know, you turn this screw here, and there's a little latch that comes out and holds it in the frame. So that's how that works. Once you have the magazine release catch out, you can actually pull the trigger out from the back. And here it is, the trigger. And there you go. Not sure if that helps any, but you can really see the pieces kind of scattered around here. So anyway, I'm going to run a really quick reassembly, and we'll see how this goes. I've got this little oil needle applicator thing to make it easy for that. Okay, so let's start with assembling the frame again. So we got our trigger here. It goes in this way. The back here that touches the sear just follows the contour of the grip, so it's pretty easy to remember. That just drops straight in. Now, in order to keep the trigger from falling out of the back while you're working on it, you actually have to put the mag catch back in. So what you do is you once again, drop it in from the right side to the left. Obviously it only fits one way. And to re-engage the sort of screw post catch thing, you just do the same thing. You kind of press it in, put a screwdriver in there and rotate it about 90 clockwise until it stops, and let it go. And it's a particular spot, so you have to, you know, press the catch in and out a little bit to get it to the right thing, the right spot. So, but now your trigger won't fall out, and you can go ahead and start reassembling everything else. Okay, so first things first is to note the orientation of the sear and the disconnector. So I always kind of tell myself the curved parts point forward. That's like the only way I can remember it, or the easiest way for me to remember it. So, you know, the front face curves forward, and then the prongs go up. So it's kind of like it's pointing up with the curves facing the front of the 1911. Same thing here. I'm talking about this curve here. So the way I do this is you kind of can you put them together like this. That's what it looks like together. And if you can, drop it into the frame together. So basically the disconnector goes up from the bottom through this hole up here. So if you can't get them together, it's actually okay, because you can put in the disconnector first. It's a little tricky, but okay. So you see there, kind of protrudes up, and you can let the flat spots sit on the back of the trigger bar while you drop the sear in. Kind of just drops right. Oh, my bad. Well, there you go. I put it in backwards. So let's see if I can get it out without losing the disconnector too. All right, disconnector still in there. Okay, so once again, curved part faces towards the front with the prongs pointing up. So when you align it like that, you can just drop it in there, and if you look at it from the side, then you take the smaller diameter of the two pins. If you look at it from the side, you can kind of use a screwdriver or something to kind of align the holes. And pop the pin back in. All right. So once that pin is in, then this is kind of what it looks like. Anyway, obviously this is not going to be great. That's what it looks like. And then, of course, when you turn it over, it won't pop out. So, okay, let's continue on. All right. So the next piece would be to put in the hammer. And this is easy. This just drops in like that. Take the bigger pin and pop it in, and there should be, you know, you're gonna feel a little bit of resistance because obviously your sear and your disconnector are already in place. So that's just, you know, once you get it in, then you don't have to worry about it falling out, at least for the rest of it. So, all right. Oh, and you know what? I forgot. Pull this out. I do put a drop of oil where the disconnector touches the trigger bar. Just a little tiny drop. And then a drop of oil where the pin goes through the where the pin goes through the middle of the sear and the disconnector. And I put a tiny drop at the top of that curve because that curved portion, that curved point that's facing up, that touches the back of the hammer, or that touches the this round that engages these notches in the hammer. So where'd that pin go? Here it is. Okay. Now that you got that, next up is grip safety. So I've got a little trick to this because you need to put the spring in, and you got to hold the spring in while you put the grip safety in, and at the same time while you are trying to get the thumb safety in. And this thing is obviously finicky, likes to pop out. So anyway, the way this works, the way this spring aligns is the back of it's got a notch that fits in here, and the 3 fingers just lay on top of the sear and disconnector assembly. So and this prong that's sticking out, that's actually the grip safety spring. So let me see if I can get this on the camera. You can see what the inside looks like. There. See those the prongs sit. So what you got is over here. This is one leg. It kind of sits partially on top of the sear. This one sits fully on where the disconnector is, and this one sticks out. So that's the proper way of aligning. And let's get this focused again. I'm sorry about the focus thing. I had to figure it out. All right. So my sort of trick to this is, you know, you've got to get this compressed down and straight so you can put the grip safety in. I actually take, you know, I line the spring up right, and then I take the mainspring housing and push it, not all the way obviously, but just enough to where it's holding the spring in, which is usually right about there. And what this does is now you can put the rest of the stuff in without worrying about where your fingers are. All right, so that over there. All right, so the next step is the grip safety, and then obviously that's held in by the thumb safety post here. So the first thing is the plunger for the slide stop release and the manual thumb safety. I put a drop of oil right in here so that keeps these 2 pieces lubed. Okay, so now you basically just drop this in, and all you need to do is make sure that the hammer strut, which is this piece here, that stainless steel piece that's probably is kind of in the middle, so that the grip safety will fit flush and proper. Now what I do at this point is I actually pop this in just to get it so that nothing is rattling around. And the tricky part is, once again, you need to compress the spring while you find the magic position for this, the actual thumb safety. So here's how I line it up. I actually use a small tool, sometimes it's a punch, screwdriver, whatever I've got in hand, and I try to push this in from this side while I find that magic position. Actually, let me get a different punch. While I find that magic sweet spot for where the thumb safety will actually be able to go in. All right. And like I said, it's kind of a weird spot between the two, between being engaged and disengaged. So usually I just kind of get it to the point where it's the safety lever is actually holding the plunger in place, and then it just snaps in. If you're in the right spot, it snaps right in. It may require some wiggling, you know, in this case, obviously this one was fine. So, all right, so that was in, that's in. Obviously this has got to get buttoned up, so what you want to do is push the mainspring housing now up, and the idea is the strut here has to sit in the cup at the top of the mainspring housing. So if you just push it up until it's lined up kind of like this, so there, now no matter how much rattling around you do, the hammer strut is in the right place, and then you can just and there's, by the way, there's two teeth under the grip safety. Those go on the back side of the mainspring housing. So once you get it all in there, make sure you're pushing down on the grip safety so that those tabs get locked in. And basically you can slide it all the way up. This is, the spring tension's a bit difficult here. I think this is not fully, the hammer's not fully, there we go. The hammer wasn't fully forward. That's why I was having some tension issues here. All right, let's try that again. This isn't that tricky. I'm making it seem harder than it is. All right, so when you've got no tension on the hammer, then this pretty much slides up all the way. And like I said, make sure the grip safety is depressed all the way so you can really get this up all the way. Okay. Now the mainspring housing pin put in place. And what you should have now is pretty much a fully assembled lower, and you'll know when you got the pins right because all the round ends of the pins are on the right hand side of the gun. I'm not even sure if these will, obviously these three won't go in the wrong way. I don't know if this one will or not. At this point, while it's open, you can check functionality here. So make sure the hammer stays back, safety on. It does not drop, along with, even if you have the grip safety on, then you take this off. Without the grip safety, it should not fire. The hammer should not go forward. With the grip safety, I'm expecting this to work just fine. Yep, it does. So preliminary function test looks good. So why don't we go ahead and put the rest of this stuff together. And just to show you the other couple spots that I put the oil on, I actually usually put one little tiny drop where the disconnector pops up through the frame, and I just put obviously the hammer is easy to get oil to, so but while this is out, I'll just put a drop in there. All right. Now, for the slide. Take the barrel, push the pin to the front, slide that in until it locks. You've got a half moon here that rests against this locking lug. And then the way the spring goes in is the flat end of the spring. You see this, two different. The flat finished end goes in and rests on the guide rod here. So the key is, see what just happened there is when you go to assemble again, the slide stop lever will eventually go through this, and that's how the barrel lugs lock to the frame. So you don't want to push it you don't want to push this too hard and get the lug to fold it over like that. So usually what I do is I just start with the pistol like this. I had to lay it down flat as best I can, and I just line that up. And the idea for me is I keep pressure on the guide, the recoil spring and the guide rod until I can't anymore. And then I keep the pressure up front. And as long as you keep pressure, for the most part, I don't believe I have too much of a hard time realigning that locking lug. So there you go. I think that's right. So we can actually find out in a second. You can tell if it's right if when you pull the slide back, the barrel should stay in place. Okay, now another tip that I have is these scratches on 1911 frames from people trying to put the slide stop lever in, and the scratches up. I don't know if there's a better way to do this, but this is how I always do it. I actually put it so that the slide stop is right touching the plunger, and I push in and up at the same time. And oh, by the way, you got to line up the half moon here. It's got to be in the same spot that you use for disassembly. So when I do that, I push in and up. It doesn't scratch the frame, but it goes right into the slot that it needs to go into. So now I can put the barrel back in. The barrel bushing in. Like I said, mine fits snug, but it's not so snug that you need a wrench to take it off. So like that. So you put it in with the feet facing this way, and then you rotate it over. This locks it in there and also lets you put the recoil spring plug back in. And now you've got this. Now this is a little difficult, but I can usually get this done pretty easily. Usually what I do is I rotate the bushing until it's on that ledge, and then I reposition my finger and then rotate it the rest of the way. So I don't know if you could actually see that. So, anyway, so now it's back together. Do a quick function test, make sure the slide locks back, which it does. Put a magazine in. Make sure the magazine automatically locks slide back, which it does. Magazine release works. Let's do a safety check real quick. So hammer's cocked, safety, nothing. The safety is off. No grip safety, does not do anything. Now when you go to fire, it does. Trick to reset. It works. So, there you go. It's all back together. And like I said,